Thank you all for coming this evening to our Friday evening service. We'll begin with our prayer for peace.
Divine Creator, we ask that the light of highest awareness fill the minds and hearts of those who are open to your light. We ask that they be assisted and strengthened in their resolve to achieve peace using peaceful means. May their minds, their hearts, and their actions reflect the divine will to good for all. Comfort, strengthen, and support those who are in a difficult situation in their mind, body, or spirit. Bring confidence to them that your divine hand is at work in their life. Amen.
Well, this is the Community Chapel of Holistic Healing. My name is Reverend Mary Huber, pastor of the organization, and welcome. We are a nonprofit spiritual fellowship founded in 1977 by Reverend Michelle Luson, a mystic and channel for the multidimensional consciousness. We have a mission to help anyone who is here today in this tumultuous time to make a transition into a higher level of awareness, into the Christ consciousness. So we're here to help them make their transformation. So in that effort, we hold services twice a month, and we have weekly programs on prayers for peace. We have the one for healing and one for intuitive development, to which anyone can join, and we encourage you to do so. And you can send a request into info@ccwh.com. We'd be happy to include you. So this evening's service is about love because we're sitting here in the time frame of Valentine's Day. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day. And to set our energies correctly, we will do our faith, hope, and charity affirmation. This aligns all of your energies in your body. This was channeled in by Michelle Luson at the very beginning of the organization. Spirit gave her this as a very powerful set of affirmations that will definitely help everyone to stay centered and to stay in their Christ selves. We'll begin by saying it in your mind with me. The faith affirmation. I believe in the spiritual existence of myself as a perfect image of the divine creator. In this reflection, that is my physical embodiment, I have faith in the supreme guidance of my soul for my balance, my needs, and my opportunities. Outside of myself, there are also perfect images, and nothing can delude my thinking otherwise. The hope affirmation. Acknowledging my faith in the omnipresence of my divinity. I hope for realization, awareness, and acknowledgement of the existence of the great I am within myself. The charity affirmation. An understanding faith in knowing hope, I pledge my actions, my desires, and my thoughts to the performances of myself on the physical planes of the earth, to honor, to love, and to enlighten all that is a reflection of the divine outside myself, so that my perfection is imaged back to my Creator. So help me God. With those powerful affirmations, and with this time that we have placed in our calendar as in humanity, and I don't know how many countries observe this, but we've been observing Valentine's Day for a very long time in this country. And it does remind people about the topic of love and sharing and all that goes with that. So I wanted to do something not only with that, but I was wondering what should I talk about because we have had Reverend Carter from the Unity Church do a beautiful presentation on love not too long ago. I guess it was a couple months ago. And I told her she's a hard act to follow. She did such a great job. So I was wondering what to talk about this evening, whether it would be appropriate. So I heard the song. It was a very old one from the mid 1950s. Love is a many splendored thing. So I thought, oh, this is what I am to talk about. And I would love to have played you the music because I don't know how many people, especially the younger people, may never have heard this song. But I'm always willing to take you down my memory lane and, into a distant past to help you on your journey through life. So you might want to grab just a listen to it. It's a beautiful song. The earlier, in my early days, in my youth, I should say, in younger days, I thought just about 90% of all the songs were about love. But today I have no idea if the lyrics that music has going with them have anything to do with love or much to do with love, or is it maybe more prevalent? I don't know. That's why I have to go back on what I know, especially when it comes to songs. So interestingly enough, and going back to the 1950s, my favorite book on love comes from Eric Fromm, who wrote The Art of Loving. I think most people have a copy of that in their bookshelves. And I believe very much so that he very clearly pointed out what St. Paul said centuries before that. In 1 Corinthians chapter 13, very familiar to you as well. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always preserves. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be still. But where there is knowledge, it also can pass away. But only love remains. So this is kind of a more updated version of that passage, and it is certainly a passage that is read very often at weddings because it does bring out all of the different aspects that love has going for it and all of the elements in it that have all the dimensions. So that was very well stated by not only St. Paul, but by Eric Fromm as well. So those who have studied spiritually advanced information know that love is the essence and substance upon which everything in this universe was created by God. We come into this world to experience many aspects and facets of love. Our response to and our understanding of love will determine the lived outcome. When people speak of love, not everyone is addressing the same aspect or expression. it is important to define, well, always to define what we are actually talking about, because when you start talking about a topic and everybody thinks they understand what the topic is, you can have a lot of confusion or misinformation because not everybody's looking at things the same way. So that's always a very important part of life too. Now, this may take me off track a little bit, I'm not sure, but I was looking for some books that I could bring out, again from my ancient archives. I came across one that reminded me of the time when I had discovered the mansion at Swannanoa in Virginia. The book is entitled the title is just Love, and it is by Lao Russell, Lao Russell. I made relatively frequent, depending because of the distance. I'm surprised how many trips I did make there too, because I found the experience of being there very elevating at that time. It was more like in it was the late 1980s. And actually, Lau Russell was reported to be a great psychic channel. I went with a friend to try to meet with her. I just thought maybe she'd be there when I got there. But I found out that when I did go there, that she had died just a few months before I got there, and that was 1988. Um, but subsequently found out that our founder, Reverend Michelle Luson, knew her and actually had at least one or more meetings with her on what topic or why, I don't know. But that was something I didn't know before. I thought I found her on my own, of course. Uh, but I didn't know we actually had some sort of a connection. Um, However, the place was not known so much for her, but for her husband, Walter Russell. He was referred to as a Renaissance man, meaning a man who is very competent in many fields. He had acclaim as an artist, a sculptor, a musician, a businessman, quite a wealthy businessman who had put together many different projects, and then eventually known for his scientific observations. Now, he had a spiritual awakening in 1921, which was very, very profound and gave him the cosmic information of which he had no knowledge before. And he was then he had to share that information. So he had a lot of fights with scientists at the time because he was a bit ahead of his time, believe me. Mr. Russell had published a number of books, and the one that I purchased, they were selling them there, was called The Secret of Light. And it's a very interesting book. He was putting a more of a scientific angle onto what light is and connecting it spiritually. In 1953, he wrote a new concept of the universe in which he stated that, quote, a cardinal error of science was shutting the creator out of his creation. He never referred to an anthropomorphic God, but wrote that God is the invisible, motionless, sexless, undivided, and unconditioned white magnetic light of mind. By 1988, when I visited the mansion, he had gone into spirit for many years prior to that. His legacy was living on, and the overall house and property had a very high frequency to it, which kept drawing me back. It really had a profound energy to it. And the entire estate, the building and the grounds seemed to be filled with light and love. And there were a group of faithful people who knew him and or probably I don't know if he knew him, but they certainly knew his wife, and were very keen on keeping that whole concept of Walter Reed's um, legacy alive. And there were many books and things like that that he had for still for sale, and the mansion was intact the way he had left it, and it was absolutely stunning, and the ground stunning. Formal gardens in the back, and the beautiful things of, I mean, things that you go back, well, you felt you were walking back in time into some castle somewhere. It was just, I mean, tapestries and old wood, the wood and the ceilings that had that, the different pictures in it. And there was another room with all the carvings in the ceiling. I mean, it was amazing. That alone, and then the property itself. I would meditate, this an aside, I would meditate going around the edges of the property, and I could feel this wonderful energy. And I had heard that the neighbor had some issue with them being there. And so just to see how I felt, I would be meditating and I would have the feeling of elevation, and I would walk out of over the property line onto the neighbor's lot because there was no fence there. And it would just like stop. And it was very discordant things going on over there. So I jumped back in and the beautiful feeling would come back in. I thought, oh, I think I'll go back and tell them their neighbor is having a problem. And I went in and she said, we know this. He's very angry all the time and is trying to get us out of here. And I thought, well, this mansion must have preceded him because it was from a very old, I think uh, I understood it had been there at least 100 years. And so I don't know why people get like that when you're in an energy. They didn't like all the people who, constantly coming there. But anyway, um, that's just a little aside. Um, so I don't know how long that those people were there before me, or that my coming, or after in the process of going down there, at some point I had a very large period of time where I didn't go. I tried to go back again and I went down and they were gone. The people who were supporting him were gone, and they were going to sell the mansion. And that energy no longer existed at that place at all. There wasn't any residual energy there of the beautiful elevation. And I was so disappointed. And it really went really downhill after that, quite a bit. And I thought, an interesting, the loving concern of these people to keep this going kept that everything so beautiful and so amazing. And the minute, I don't know what happened to the people leaving, maybe they owed money on it or something. I have no idea why they left. But I'm telling you, that experience of knowing what love was 1 minute on that property and to go back and find it like gone. It was like the next door neighbor had moved in without actually moving in. So that very different vibe. And I think it's very important to realize that our presence, our loving presence in any area that we are concerned about, that we want to promote, is a living thing. It's nothing, um, it isn't something that maybe everybody experiences overtly like I did, but there is presence, there's something there that is so beautiful and powerful. And I know it was because of their heart dedication to this work. So it lives on beyond us if we can keep that thing loving concern for whatever you have a loving concern for, to keep it going. Um, I want to say that Lao's book on love was disappointing to me because of her channel. When I bought the book, I had trouble getting into it. I think I picked it up a couple times over the many years since then, and I just couldn't seem to get into it. And I got it down, and I still have the same trouble. And it just has a different vibe. She wrote, and then I realized that she was writing the book. She wrote the book and published it in early to mid 1960s. And there was a lot of hippies and free love and a lot of, I guess, disturbing energy around in general in the world. And in her book, I think she was trying to address that. And, but she attributed maybe not all of it, but a great percentage of it to the misuse of sexual energy. And she had a lot to say about sexual energies. And I thought, I understand what she meant and I understand why she got into there, but I thought her focus on physical sex was actually a bit overdone, considering what I think I had expected to be on the topic of love. So it's also interesting that Eric Fromm's book, The Art of Loving, preceded the period of 1960s. His came out in 1955, his book. And it was almost as though he knew how important this information could be for the upcoming times. He identified love as having four elements. And I know you're very familiar with this. The four elements are care, responsibility, respect, and knowledge. So even though you've heard them before, I don't think these things could be overemphasized. He reminded us that the ability to love as an act of giving depends on the character development of the person. It presupposes the person is predominantly productively oriented to life. He said that any person must first overcome dependency, narcissistic omnipotence, the wish to exploit others or the need to hoard, and instead has acquired faith in his own powers with courage to rely on those powers in the pursuit of his or her goals. Then he said, now to the degree that these qualities are lacking, the individual is afraid of giving of himself or herself, and therefore is afraid of loving. Now, the first element of love that he identifies, the caring aspect, he says always refers to the love between mother and child. This is an example of the fact that love is the active concern for the life and growth of that which we love. Where this active concern is lacking, there is no love. Here, he describes the life of Jonah from the Bible. God had asked Jonah to go to Nineveh to warn the people there that they were going to be punished for all of their evil transgressions. Jonah did not want to go and resisted. He was actually concerned that God would forgive them. Because he was a man of strong sense of order and law, but he had little or no love in him. However, in his attempt to escape God, he found himself in the belly of a whale, which symbolizes a state of isolation and imprisonment, which was his lack of love. God does save him, and he does go and preach to the people there. But when God decides not to destroy the city, Jonah was intensely angry because he wanted justice to be done, not mercy. Jonah had to learn many lessons and had to understand his lessons. Eventually, God explained to Jonah that the essence of love is to labor for something and to make something grow. That love and labor are inseparable. One loves that for which one labors, and one labors for that which one loves. The caring now is just one aspect. Responsibility is another important aspect, very important. Responsibility is not something that is imposed from the outside. It is actually an entirely voluntary act. It is a response to the needs, expressed or not, of another. To be responsible means to be able and ready to respond. Jonah was more like Cain, who asked, "Am I my brother's keeper?" Of course, responsibility could deteriorate into domination and possessiveness were it not for the third component, which is respect. Respect is not fear and awe. It is the ability to see a person as he or she is and be aware of that person's unique individuality. Respect means the concern that the other person should grow and unfold as he or she is, or is meant to. It certainly implies the absence of exploitation. He went on to say that respect exists only on the basis of freedom. To respect the person is not possible without knowing that individual. Care and responsibility would be blind if they were not guided by knowledge. And knowledge would be empty if it were not motivated by concern. These are all interdependent for an actual true love experience. I believe more people would be happier if these conditions of love were explained early on in life. This is part of our, in some way, impart this very early on. And I'm sure that a clever teacher could design a program where children could learn this. We often walk by an experience of love, walk right by it, and not realize what it was. We were in it, we didn't see it, and we moved on, and it did realize at the time that it really was an expression of love. It did not present itself in a very evident way to us, something we expected. Our interactions with one another would improve when we realize that love really is when we enter a relationship, whether it be personal or a one-to-one thing, or one with other members of society. In Chapman's book, The 5 Love Languages, which I also love very much, he finds that there are 5 categories of love languages. He also states that each person typically has one primary and one secondary love language. Now, each of us acquires our unique understanding of love from many sources along the way, but particularly when we're young. And just from my personal observation, I believe that we also come in to existence with one of these in place. I believe this is part of our life experience, which will teach us some further lessons regarding our relationships and the ultimate relationship to God. I learned a long time ago that love correctly is the love that we have is first of God, then to ourselves, and only then does it go out to others. There are solid metaphysical reasons for this lineup. Seeking that alignment with God within, who is our creator, is the real reason we are reincarnate. Once we find that, all other things are added. This is clearly stated in the Bible when Jesus said, "Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all other things will be added to you." However, as human interactions that occur on day-to-day level that are part of life, I think knowing the five love languages would be really important. And the five are words of affirmation, quality time, giving of gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. Excuse me. I think these are self-evident. So people who expect, uh, excuse me. Now, people who expect affirmative approval can be in a relationship with somebody whose love language is acts of service, and they find themselves feeling unloved. There is love present, but the individual doesn't recognize it. We expect to get back to ourselves what we find to be our expression. Excuse me. It is difficult for someone growing up in a family, for example, where physical touch was prevalent and find themselves in a relationship with someone whose love language is giving of gifts. We all do have a preferred love language, and it would be so helpful to explore at some point what we value in this so that we understand ourselves and we can look out to others to see what that means to them and then be able to have that connection more appropriately happen, and certainly would have a great dialogue with them on this topic. So you would understand one another. That would go such a long way in relationships. Now we come in longing to know, not only know ourselves, but we long to know our fellow man. This has always been true. Centuries ago, the Delphi motto above the temple was, "Man, know thyself." The more we understand our own actions, the more we can understand others. Knowing who we really are is often a lifelong search. And finding our balance between our outer world and our inner world would prove to be not only enlightening, but also very health-giving on many levels. Our first responsibility really is to find God where we are exploring this power within ourselves to know ourselves and be one with the divine within is very settling and very, very uplifting. It also opens up many doors because we are tapping into our finer nature and our natural gifts. Once we rely on the divine within for our resources, we have moved up in frequency and light. The knowledge that is embedded in universal love will reveal everything we need to know for a successful life. Love really is the only reality when we understand that the mind and heart of God is pure love. Love has it all. There are events in our day-to-day life which distract us from this understanding, but as we return to our frequent prayers and meditations and to realign, and we ask for forgiveness for the error of wandering away from the faith in God and God's presence in our life and God's love for us. We are met by so many light beings when we are in this position that we are back with God, who are able to connect in such a beautiful and positive way to help us. We do have angels. We do have those in spirit from our family who passed over, who are concerned for our advancement in life and our success for this lifetime. So tonight I thought it would be our gift to spirit to create a loving expression. Perhaps we could call it a Valentine to a loved one in spirit to whom you feel particularly connected. Now, you will have to bring that person up, or maybe you want to sort through. But before we go into this meditation, I just want you to understand the sequence and what to expect, because at some point, I want you to have all of that exercise done to that point, and then I want you to go with it. There's going to be a period of I'm not going to talk. It's going to be silent, and you're going to be doing your own inner work. So I think that's really important for you to know. So we're going to begin with a clearing, a grounding, and a centering, followed by instructions to breathe deeply and relax the physical body. And as you take your third deep breath, I want you to begin to turn your attention within and follow, to the best of your ability, a guided experience that I will take you to your heart, or a place that you identify as potentially representing your heart. And I'll make a few brief comments, and I'll ask you to spend your own imagination now is critical here. You're going to wind up in a garden, and once you get there, you're going to see a lot of flowers, and you're going to create a bouquet. So I will ask you to go to the individual in spirit that you have selected, and within your loving imagination, and not only present the bouquet, but I want you to have a conversation of some sort, some interaction, whether it's just quietly sitting or whether you're actually conversing, or say what you would like to say to them. What happens is up to you at that point. And there will be a time so I'm not going to be talking during that time. You'll be doing your own inner work. And I'd like you to have fun with this, because one thing that we fail to see, I think, when we're in the human state, is that spirit would like us to be more uplifted and joyful in everything we do. This is a place to play with spirit and really get communication. You are not going to do anything wrong. Spirit will assist you lovingly. And I want you to know that this will be your loved one will be there. I guarantee you that. So let's begin. Okay. Centering, grounding, and clearing. First, we'll start with our clearing. As you close your eyes, since you haven't been in meditation yet, I want you to rub your hands together, energize, get some good electricity there going, your electromagnetic field moving. And you want to energize the idea that you are creating a powerful magnet that's going to take your hand and go over down your body, and you're releasing everything, and flick that into the earth. And you just clearing your aura, clearing. You're asking in the meantime for this assistance to clear your body, emotions, mind, and spirit of all that is not helpful at this point in your life or ever. And you're going to ask Saint Germain to send in the violet flame. This is a wonderful downpouring of the violet flame that comes through you. It's loving energy and forgiving energy. So as you are releasing, you are being forgiven for all of that you have kept in your body, in your auras, and you're now everything is being released. See it going into the earth. And now you feel it just feels clearer in you. So you want to do the centering. Now you're asking for the divine presence of your inner self. You're going to go into your chakra system. You're going to come down from the highest, and you're going to come all the way through your body and into your lower chakra, and then you're going to go back up again. You're just lining up the energy. You're running energy. You're bringing energy down. You're bringing energy back up. You can do it from the back up to in the front. Just run the energy. It'll be very well done. You will be all centered and aligned that way. And then when you go down to the lower energies, I want you to drop a red energy line into the center of the earth, wrap it around the inner part of the earth, and you are grounded. Your root chakra is firmly grounded. So you are cleared, you are grounded, and now as you are experiencing the incoming light, I want you to take these breaths. Your body must relax. This is a deep experience. If you're going to meet somebody, you really need to let go. Breathing deeply, knowing that with every breath, your body is relaxing more and more. Relaxation is very important. The next deep breath, your body is relaxing more and more and more. And you can breathe more than 3 times. For this, you can take another breath in, and your body is ever more relaxing. There is a beautiful sense of being clear and relaxed, comfortable, wonderfully comfortable. Now begin to turn yourself into yourself, going within. Go to your creative imagination and get up from in your mind's eye, get up from where you are. Take a path and go to your heart, the place that you believe represents your heart. Go there. Just take your time. You're going to find there's going to be a center to this place where there's a lot of beauty and everything around you is unbelievably spectacular. But in the middle is an altar, a beautiful alabaster altar. On that is a tabernacle of pure gold. And behind that, and if you open that door, there is your threefold flame of love, power, and wisdom, and the end of the silver cord that attaches directly to your I am presence. This is the presence of God in you. Imagine it any way you can. The energy that exists there is unfathomable because we have no concept of how powerful that is. As you spend this time with your Creator, praying, speaking with your Creator, the I am presence. You are aware now that coming from behind the altar is a figure that looks remarkably like Jesus. He's coming from around the back and coming to the front where you are. Jesus holds his hand out to you. And you arise get up to your feet. And he leads you out. Through an archway or a door. You go out and there is a garden. The garden of your heart. It's you and Jesus. And you begin to pick some of the flowers. And you hand the individual flowers to Jesus, who will hold the bouquet for you. Roses are always representing love, and the color represents the quality. Red is physical love. White is spiritual love. Yellow says, I honor you. Vibrant pink is true love. Light pink is feminine and relates to children. You might want some forget-me-nots because they say that exact phrase when you hand somebody. Violet is sweetness. Daisy is innocence. Sunflower is openness, happiness. Lily is purity. With every flower, you will be sending a direct message. This is for your loved one. So you know the loved one's favorite flower. You definitely have to have that there. If you have a favorite flower, you must gather that. If you have your bouquet ready, Jesus has all of these. He hands you back the bouquet because you are going to present this. He is the intermediary who will bring you to your loved one. And you go with him. And now, going to begin to withdraw from this special place you are finding yourself in. And you may want to say adieu to your loved one who will tell you that they are not going anywhere. They are with you. And of course, Jesus will never leave you as well. It's just our awareness has to return to our three-dimensional world. But I'd like you to go back to your heart, to give thanks to your Creator for this time, for this ability to communicate deeply, and for the loving embrace that has been given to you, not only from Jesus and many in spirit, but that many special loved ones came by. So you acknowledge the God within you, and you bring back now the blessings of your own Creator, your own I Am presence, your own Christ consciousness has blessed you this day in ways that maybe you haven't experienced before. And these energies will stay with you now. They're part of you. You bring back enlightenment of some sort, some increased health, and a lot of relaxation, the ability to let go and turn those issues over to God that you do have in your life. So as you return through the pathway you took to get there, and as your hand goes on the front door knob, you begin to reintegrate in the third dimensional reality, and by the time you take your seat, you're fully returned from your meditative experience, feeling relaxed and healthy. I also want to mention that this communication you've initiated will probably result in some more communication in dreams over the next week. So don't be surprised. Now, as we leave our meditation, I will go on next to our website, where hopefully you will be able to access it and go to our PayPal. And it would be very kind and generous if you could donate something by PayPal to our organization so that we keep this energy moving and keep us in business well into the future, so that we can make this bridge from the old world into the new world and help other people to do the same. And now we will end with a closing circle. If we were physically present, we would be joining hands and singing this, "Let There Be Peace on Earth."